Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Nightfall, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. His ship had been exploring the outer edges of the solar system for 3 months now. Today felt different, though. The sensors were picking up something unusual near Jupiter's orbit. "Captain, we have an unknown object approaching," said Lieutenant Danny Kim from his position at the sensor station. "It's big, sir. Much bigger than any ship we've ever built." Jake felt his heart race. This could be it. First contact with alien life. Humanity had been dreaming about this moment for centuries. He straightened his uniform and took a deep breath. "All hands to battle stations," he ordered. "But keep weapons powered down. We don't want to seem threatening." The alien ship was massive and gleaming. It looked like a giant crystal that had been carved into the shape of a sword. Bright lights covered every surface, making it shine like a small sun against the black of space. Jake had never seen anything so beautiful or terrifying. "They're sending a message, Captain," reported Communications Officer Lisa Rodriguez. "It's in multiple languages. They seem to have been studying us." The main screen flickered, and suddenly, Jake was looking at the face of an alien being. The creature had pale blue skin and large golden eyes that seemed to glow with their own light. It wore what looked like armor made of mirrors and crystal. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Krell of the Zephyrian Empire. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations with your species." Jake stepped forward. "Welcome, Ambassador Krell. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Space Force. We are honored to meet you." 3 days later, Jake found himself aboard the space station Aurora, a neutral meeting point that both sides had agreed upon. The station orbited between Earth and Mars, and it had been quickly converted into a diplomatic facility. The best minds from Earth had gathered here for the most important negotiations in human history. Dr. Lisa Harper, Earth's lead expert on alien life, sat across from Ambassador Krell in the main conference room. She had studied biology her whole life, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. The Zephyrian was even more impressive in person. His skin seemed to shimmer, and his golden eyes never stopped moving, always searching for sources of light. "Your species is fascinating," Krell said, his voice carrying a strange musical quality. "We have observed your behavior patterns for several weeks now. You seem to have adapted remarkably well to your fear." Lisa looked confused. "Our fear? I'm sorry, Ambassador, but I don't understand what you mean." Krell gestured around the room. Bright lights covered every surface of the space station. Humans wore reflective patches on their uniforms. During the station's artificial night cycle, people seemed to gather together in the brightest areas. "Your terror of the darkness," Krell explained patiently. "We understand this weakness. Our scientists believe it comes from your evolution on a world that experiences periods of dangerous shadow. But you have learned to cope with this disability admirably." Dr. Harper blinked in surprise. She looked around the room, trying to see it through alien eyes. The lights weren't there because humans feared the dark. They were there for safety and efficiency. The reflective patches helped with visibility during spacewalks. People gathered in common areas during night cycles because they were social creatures, not because they were afraid. "Ambassador Krell," she said carefully, "I think there might be a misunderstanding. Humans don't fear darkness. These lights are for practical reasons. We need to see clearly to work safely in space." The translator device on the table made several beeping sounds as it tried to process her words. Krell's golden eyes grew brighter, which Lisa was beginning to realize meant he was confused or excited. "You speak of darkness as if it serves a purpose," Krell said slowly. "This is interesting. On our world, we have 3 suns. There is never a time without light. Darkness is the ultimate terror, the end of all life. When our scientists first observed your planet, they were amazed that any species could survive such conditions. Commander Ryan Brooks, the station's security chief, had been listening to the conversation from his position near the door. He was a practical man who had served in the military for 20 years. The whole situation was starting to make him nervous. "Ambassador," Ryan said, stepping forward. "With respect, humans are not afraid of the dark. We sleep in darkness. We find it peaceful. Some of our most important activities happen at night." Krell's entire body seemed to glow brighter at these words. The translator device worked frantically, beeping and clicking as it tried to find equivalent words in the Zephyrian language. Finally, it gave up and simply repeated Ryan's words in English. "Sleep in darkness?" Krell repeated, his voice filled with what sounded like horror and admiration. "You voluntarily enter the void state and survive? Your species is braver than we initially believed." The misunderstanding was getting worse, not better. Every time the humans tried to explain that darkness was normal for them, the Zephyrians became more convinced that humanity was a warrior race that had conquered their deepest fears. Over the following days, more Zephyrian ships arrived. Each one was covered in even more lights than the last. Their crews wore armor that reflected and amplified any available light source. When they walked through the station's corridors, they moved in tight groups, always staying in the brightest areas. Dr. Harper spent hours with Zephyrian scientists, trying to understand their biology. She learned that their species had evolved under constant light. Their eyes could see types of radiation that humans couldn't even detect, but they had no ability to see in low-light conditions. To them, even dim lighting was the same as total blindness. "Your adaptation to the terror periods is remarkable," said Dr. Zenth, Krell's chief scientist. "How do you maintain sanity when the light disappears?" "We don't need to maintain sanity," Lisa explained for the 100th time. "Darkness isn't terrifying to us. It's just another environment, like water or air." Dr. Zenth made notes on a device that glowed so brightly it hurt Lisa's eyes to look at directly. "Fascinating. Your species has achieved complete psychological mastery over the ultimate fear. This explains much about your rapid technological development." On the 5th day of negotiations, Ambassador Krell made an offer that changed everything. "The Zephyrian Empire wishes to extend our protection to humanity," he announced formally. "We understand that your species suffers from periods of cosmic darkness that would drive any rational being to madness. We offer to shield your colonies from this terror. In exchange, we ask only for mining rights to certain asteroids and a small tribute of rare metals." Captain Morrison, who had been promoted to head of the human delegation, felt his stomach drop. The Zephyrians thought they were offering charity to a disabled species. They saw humans as brave but fundamentally broken creatures who needed protection from their own fears. "Ambassador Krell," Jake said carefully, "we appreciate your generous offer, but we don't need protection from darkness. We've been living with day and night cycles for thousands of years. We're perfectly comfortable with them." Krell's golden eyes dimmed slightly, which the humans had learned meant disappointment or confusion. "You refuse our protection?" he asked, "even though we offer it freely with no expectation of conquest or domination?" "We refuse because we don't need it," Jake replied firmly. "Humans are not afraid of the dark." The silence that followed was tense. Krell exchanged rapid communications with his advisors in their own language. The translator devices couldn't keep up with the speed of their conversation, but Lisa could tell they were agitated. Finally, Krell turned back to the human delegation. His expression was unreadable, but his voice carried a note of what might have been respect or pity. "We understand," he said slowly. "Your species is too proud to admit weakness, even when offered help. This is admirable, but also dangerous. We will withdraw our offer for now, but the Zephyrian Empire will continue to monitor your situation. When the darkness finally breaks your people's spirit, we will be ready to help." With that, the first diplomatic meeting between humans and aliens came to an end. As the Zephyrian delegation prepared to leave, Dr. Harper realized that they had completely failed to communicate the truth about human nature. The aliens left believing that humanity was either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Jake Morrison watched the alien ships depart through the viewing port of the space station. Something told him this wasn't over. The Zephyrians might think they were being helpful, but their misunderstanding could lead to serious problems in the future. He was right to be worried. 3 months after the Great Battle, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the ruins of what had once been the Zephyrian capital city. The buildings were broken and burned. The streets were empty except for human soldiers and a few surviving Zephyrians, who had surrendered. The Void Swarm had done its work well. When the signal generators redirected the mechanical destroyers towards Zephyrian space, the aliens had only 2 weeks to evacuate their core worlds. Most of their population escaped to distant colonies, but their government centers and military installations were completely destroyed. Commander Lisa Drake walked up to Jake, carrying a datapad with the final casualty reports. The Zephyrian military has been eliminated, Captain. Their fleet is destroyed. Their bases are rubble. They no longer have the ability to threaten any other species. Jake nodded as he looked at the broken city around him. What about their colonies? Scattered and isolated, Lisa said. Without their central government and military, the colonies cannot coordinate with each other. Most are asking for human protection. Lieutenant Amy Foster landed her shuttle nearby and joined them. She had been flying diplomatic missions to the surviving Zephyrian colonies for weeks. Captain, the colony leaders want to meet with you. They are offering complete surrender. What are their terms? Jake asked. No terms, Amy said. They are begging for mercy. They know what their government did to 17 other species. They know they deserve punishment. They are willing to accept whatever judgment humanity gives them. Dr. Helen Price emerged from a damaged building carrying computer equipment. She had been recovering Zephyrian data files for the past month. Captain, I found the complete records of their genocide operations. Names, dates, locations. Everything they did to the 17 species is documented here. Jake took the datapad and scrolled through the files. Each dead species had detailed records. The Zephyrians had kept careful notes about how long each civilization lasted, how many ships they destroyed, how much time their deaths bought for Zephyrian evacuation. It was all written down like a business report. Have you found information about the survivors? Jake asked. Some of the species were not completely destroyed, Helen said. The Kalani have a few colonies in distant star systems. The Morteth have a small fleet of refugee ships. The Zentari have a hidden base in an asteroid field. They are all afraid to reveal themselves because they think the Zephyrians might come back. Chief Engineer Ben Clark walked over from where he had been examining Zephyrian technology. Captain, their industrial capabilities are completely gone. The Void Swarm destroyed every major factory and shipyard. It will take them decades to rebuild, if they ever can. Major Rick Stone approached carrying a communication device. Captain, Admiral Hayes is calling from Earth. He wants to speak with you. Jake activated the device. Admiral Hayes appeared on the small screen. The old man looked, tired but satisfied. Captain Morrison, I have news from the Galactic Council, Admiral Hayes said. 17 species have sent messages to Earth. They want to thank humanity for destroying the Zephyrians. 17 species, Jake asked. I thought the Zephyrians had killed them all. Most were destroyed, but some survivors remained hidden, Admiral Hayes explained. When they learned that the Zephyrians were gone, they came out of hiding. They have been living in fear for generations. Amy Foster looked surprised. How many survivors are there? Not many, Admiral Hayes said. The Kalani have maybe 50,000 people left. The Morteth have about 30,000. Some species have only a few hundred survivors. But they are alive, and they want to rebuild. Dr. Helen Price checked her data files. Captain, the Zephyrian records show the locations of the original homeworlds of all 17 species. Most of the planets are still habitable. The survivors could return home if they wanted to. Jake thought about this for a moment. Admiral, what does Earth want to do about the Zephyrian survivors? That decision is up to you, Captain, Admiral Hayes said. You command the fleet that defeated them. The other species are looking to humanity for leadership. What are our options? Jake asked. Commander Lisa Drake had been thinking about this question for weeks. We could exile them to distant planets where they cannot threaten anyone. We could put them under permanent human supervision, or we could execute their leaders and let the rest live under our control. The surviving species want justice, Admiral Hayes said. Some of them are calling for complete destruction of the Zephyrian race. They say it is the only way to ensure this never happens again. Jake walked to the edge of the ruined building and looked out over the destroyed city. Somewhere in the distance, he could see Zephyrian civilians searching through the rubble for food and supplies. They looked scared and desperate. Captain, Amy said quietly, what they did was terrible, but most of these people were not directly involved in the genocide. They were just citizens living their lives. Ben Clark disagreed. They all benefited from the deaths of 17 species. They all knew their government was killing other civilizations. They all participated in the betting markets that gambled on genocide. That's true, Helen said. But executing entire populations makes us no better than they were. Major Rick Stone looked at the tactical situation. From a military perspective, the Zephyrians are no longer a threat. Their government is gone. Their military is destroyed. Their technology is in our hands. We have achieved complete victory. Jake considered all the options. He thought about the 17 species that had died trusting Zephyrian promises. He thought about the humans who had almost died because of Zephyrian treachery. He thought about the justice that was owed to all the victims. Finally, he made his decision. Admiral, here are humanity's terms for the Zephyrian survivors, Jake said. First, their remaining colonies will be placed under human administration. They will have no independent government and no military forces. Second, they will spend the next 50 years working to rebuild the homeworlds of the species they destroyed. Third, their historical records will be preserved and taught throughout the galaxy so that everyone knows what they did. What about their leaders? Admiral Hayes asked. Any Zephyrian who was directly involved in planning or executing the genocide will be put on trial, Jake said. If found guilty, they will be executed, but the ordinary citizens will be allowed to live under our supervision. Lisa Drake nodded approvingly. It's harsh, but fair. They lose their independence but keep their lives. There's one more condition, Jake added. Every year, on the anniversary of each species' destruction, the Zephyrians will hold memorial services. They will remember the names of the dead and acknowledge their crimes. This will continue for 1,000 years. Admiral Hayes smiled. The survivor species will appreciate that, Captain. They want their dead to be remembered. Amy Foster looked at the Zephyrian civilians in the distance. What about rebuilding their society? Will we help them become better people? That's up to them, Jake said. We will give them the opportunity to change. We will educate their children about the value of life and the importance of peace, but they have to choose to become better. We cannot force them to be good people. Dr. Helen Price finished downloading the last of the Zephyrian data files. Captain, I have enough information here to help the 17 species rebuild their civilizations. Their languages, their cultures, their technologies, it's all preserved in these files. Then our work here is done, Jake said. Ben, prepare the fleet for departure. We're going home. As the human ships prepared to leave Zephyrian space, Jake looked back at the broken empire one last time. The species that had committed 17 genocides was now reduced to scattered colonies under human rule. Their victims would be remembered and honored. Their crimes would never be forgotten. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Predator species could be stopped, genocidal empires could be destroyed, and sometimes the species that seemed weakest could become the strongest when they fought for justice. Humanity had not sought to become the galaxy's dominant power. They had simply refused to die quietly when someone tried to murder them. That refusal had saved not only Earth, but every future species that might have faced Zephyrian treachery. The hunters had become the hunted. The predators had become the prisoners. And the galaxy was a safer place because one species had decided to fight back against injustice. As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, Jake Morrison knew that Earth's children would inherit a galaxy where genocide was no longer profitable, where the strong could not prey on the weak without consequences, and where the memory of 17 dead civilizations would serve as a warning to any species that might consider following the Zephyrian path. The death trap had become a weapon of liberation, and humanity had proven that some gifts should never be accepted without question. The Void Swarm arrived at Earth exactly when the Zephyrians said it would. Admiral Frank Hayes watched from the command center as thousands of black ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. Each ship was the size of a city block. They moved in perfect formation like a swarm of metal insects. The swarm ships began firing immediately. Bright red beams cut through space and struck Earth's outer defense platforms. The platforms exploded in balls of fire and metal. Within 2 hours, Earth's first line of defense was completely destroyed. All human ships fall back to the second. "Defense line," Admiral Hayes ordered into his radio. He was following the plan that Captain Morrison had given him. The Zephyrians were watching the battle from their ships far away. They needed to see humans fighting and dying as expected. The human fleet that Admiral Hayes commanded was mostly old ships with basic weapons. Destroyers and cruisers built before humans had met the Zephyrians. These ships fired missiles and energy beams at the Void Swarm. Some of the alien machines were destroyed, but more kept coming. The Zephyrian ambassador Kethamar watched the battle from his command ship. He sent a message to his superiors. "The humans are fighting bravely, but they cannot win. Their weapons are too weak. The swarm will reach Earth in 6 days. Our calculations were correct." But Kethamar did not know that the real human fleet was not at Earth. Captain Jake Morrison was leading 200 advanced warships through hyperspace toward the heart of Zephyrian territory. The ships had been built in secret using stolen alien technology. They were faster and more powerful than anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. Jake stood on the bridge of the new ship Vengeance. It looked similar to the Starhawk, but it was twice as large and 3 times as deadly. Lieutenant Amy Foster was his pilot. Chief Engineer Ben Clark had made sure every system worked perfectly. Dr. Helen Price was coordinating the electronic warfare attack from her computer station. "Captain, we are approaching the first target," Amy reported. She was flying the ship through a hyperspace route stolen from Zephyrian navigation computers. The first target was Zeph Prime, the main military base of the Zephyrian fleet. It was a huge space station orbiting a blue star. The station had weapons, platforms, and shield generators that could protect an entire planet. But the humans knew exactly where the weak points were. "All ships, begin the attack," Jake ordered. 50 human warships dropped out of hyperspace around Zeph Prime. The Zephyrians had only 12 ships defending the station. They were not expecting an attack. They thought all human ships were at Earth fighting the Void Swarm. The battle lasted only 30 minutes. Human ships fired plasma cannons that cut through Zephyrian shields like they were made of paper. Dr. Helen Price used stolen computer codes to turn the station's own weapons against its defenders. The Zephyrian ships tried to escape, but human ships were faster. When the battle ended, Zeph Prime was a burning wreck. Its weapons were destroyed. Its communication arrays were silent. Its docking bays were collapsed ruins. "Target destroyed, Captain," reported Major Rick Stone from the tactical station. "Moving to Target 2. At the same time, other human fleets were attacking Zephyrian bases across the galaxy. Commander Lisa Drake led a force of 60 ships against the Zephyrian shipyards at Nexus Station. The shipyards were building new vessels for the Zephyrian evacuation fleet. Lisa's ships destroyed everything. Hundreds of half-built Zephyrian ships exploded in space. Captain Susan Park commanded 40 human ships in an attack on the Zephyrian research facility at Vortex 7. The facility was developing new weapons to fight the Void Swarm. Susan's fleet turned the entire moon into a crater. Every attack was perfectly coordinated. The humans struck 12 targets at exactly the same time. The Zephyrians had no warning and no time to prepare defenses. Their military communications were being jammed by human electronic warfare ships. On his command ship near Earth, Kethmar received confused reports from across Zephyrian space. Military bases were under attack. Shipyards were exploding. Research stations were going silent. At first, he thought the reports were mistakes. "This cannot be correct," Kethmar told his communications officer. "All human ships are here fighting the Void Swarm." But the reports kept coming. Video messages showed human ships destroying Zephyrian installations. The ships looked like advanced versions of the Starhawk. They moved faster than Zephyrian vessels and hit harder than Zephyrian weapons. Kethmar tried to contact the Zephyrian High Command, but the communication networks were not working. Human hackers had taken control of most Zephyrian computer systems. Messages that Kethmar tried to send were either blocked or redirected to human ships. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet," the communications officer reported. "Put it on the main screen," Kethmar ordered. Captain Jake Morrison appeared on the display. He was standing on the bridge of the Vengeance, with Earth visible through the windows behind him. "Hello, Kethmar," Jake said with a cold smile. "I wanted to thank you for all your help." Kethmar stared at the screen in confusion. "Captain Morrison, what is the meaning of this? Why are human ships attacking our installations?" "Because we learned the truth about your plan," Jake said. "We know about the 17 species you sacrificed before us. We know about the betting markets where you gamble on our deaths. We know that you guided the Void Swarm to Earth." Kethmar's blue skin turned pale. "How did you discover this?" "You gave us the tools to discover it," Jake said. "The ship you gave us contained access to your entire computer network. Your own arrogance provided us with everything we needed to destroy you." On the tactical display behind Jake, Kethmar could see the results of the human attack. Red symbols marked destroyed Zephyrian bases across the galaxy. Green symbols showed human fleets moving to new targets. "This is impossible," Kethmar said. "You do not have enough ships to attack so many targets." "We built them using your technology," Jake said. "We studied your blueprints and improved on your designs. The ships attacking your bases are faster and stronger than anything in your fleet." Dr. Helen Price stepped into view on the screen. "We also have complete control of your computer networks. Your defensive systems, your navigation computers, your communication arrays. We can shut them down whenever we want." Kethmar looked at his own control panels. Half of the displays were showing error messages. The other half were displaying human propaganda messages. "What do you want?" Kethmar asked. "Justice," Jake said. "Your species has committed genocide 17 times. You plan to make humanity your 18th victim. Now you will pay for those crimes." Behind Jake, Major Rick Stone reported the latest battle results. "Captain, Nexus Station has been destroyed. Vortex 7 is eliminated. All primary targets are neutralized." "Excellent," Jake said. "Begin Phase 2 of the operation." "What is Phase 2? Kethmar demanded. Jake's smile became even colder. "We are going to redirect the Void Swarm. Instead of destroying Earth, they are going to destroy your remaining colonies." "You cannot do that," Kethmar said. "The swarm cannot be controlled." Amy Foster spoke from the pilot station. "Actually, they can be controlled. We captured your signal generators. The same devices you used to guide the swarm to Earth. Now, we will use them to guide the swarm to your worlds. On the main display, Kethmar watched human ships moving toward the Void Swarm. The ships were not attacking the swarm. Instead, they were placing signal generators around the alien machines. The generators began broadcasting new signals that would change the swarm's course. In approximately 6 hours, the Void Swarm will receive new navigation instructions, Dr. Helen Price explained. They will stop moving toward Earth and start moving toward your core worlds. Your people will have about 2 weeks to evacuate. 2 weeks is not enough time, Kethmar said desperately. The Kalani had 0 time, Jake said. The Morteth had 0 time. The Zentari had 0 time. You gave all 17 species 0 warning before you fed them to the Void Swarm. 2 weeks is more mercy than you deserve. Kethmar realized that his species was doomed. The human attack had destroyed most of the Zephyrian military. The evacuation fleets were scattered and leaderless. The Void Swarm was being redirected toward Zephyrian space. There was nowhere to run and no way to fight. Back, you have destroyed us, Kethmar said quietly. No, Jake corrected. You destroyed yourselves. You chose to become genocidal predators. You chose to prey on younger species. You chose to gamble on the deaths of innocent people. This is not destruction. This is consequences. The transmission ended. Kethmar stared at the blank screen as his empire crumbled around him. The humans had turned his own plan against him. The species that was supposed to die buying time for Zephyrian evacuation had instead become the instrument of Zephyrian extinction. In the space around Earth, Admiral Hayes continued his defensive battle against the Void Swarm. But now he was fighting to buy time for the human fleets to complete their mission. The swarm would be redirected soon. Earth would be safe, and the galaxy would be free from Zephyrian tyranny forever. The hunters had become the hunted, the predators had become the prey, and humanity had proven that some species should never be underestimated. Chief Engineer Ben Clark worked 18 hours every day for 3 weeks. His team of 30 engineers helped him take apart every piece of Zephyrian technology on the Starhawk. They found kill switches hidden everywhere. The weapons had secret codes that would make them explode. The shields had back doors that could be opened by remote control. Even the life support systems had hidden shutdown commands. But Ben also found something the Zephyrians did not expect humans to discover. Deep inside the ship's computer core were the master encryption keys for the entire Zephyrian communication network. The aliens had been so confident that humans would die quickly that they had not bothered to hide their most important secrets. Captain Morrison, you need to see this, Ben said. He led Jake to the computer lab where Dr. Helen Price was waiting. Helen's eyes were bright with excitement. Ben found the keys to their entire military network. We can read every message they send. We can access their navigation computers. We can even control their ships if we want to. Jake stared at the computer screen. Lines of alien code scrolled past faster than he could read. Are you saying we can hack into their fleet? Not just their fleet, Helen said. We can hack into everything. Their space stations, their planetary defense systems, their industrial computers. The Zephyrians built backdoors into our technology, but they also gave us backdoors into theirs. Ben pulled up a diagram of Zephyrian space. Look at this, Captain. We have access to their star charts, their military bases, their supply routes. They have shown us exactly where to hit them. Lieutenant Amy Foster joined them in the computer lab. She had been working with a team of human pilots to learn everything about Zephyrian flight systems. Captain, we have been testing the ship's real capabilities. When we remove the sabotage, the Starhawk is twice as powerful as the Zephyrians claimed. How is that possible? Jake asked. They lied about the ship's limits, Amy said. They told us the reactor could only run at 60% power. But that was just software programming. When we removed their restrictions, the reactor can run at full power indefinitely. The weapons are the same way, Ben added. They programmed the plasma cannons to fire slowly and overheat quickly. but the cannons themselves can fire much faster and longer than they told us. Dr. Helen Price opened another file on her computer. I found their real technical specifications. This ship can travel twice as fast as they said. It can fight for days without stopping, and it can carry 3 times more weapons than we thought. Jake felt hope growing in his chest for the first time in weeks. So we have a ship that is better than they told us, and we have access to their entire computer network. That's right, Helen said. But there's more. I found the construction plans for their entire fleet. We know exactly how their ships are built and where their weak points are. Commander Lisa Drake arrived with Major Rick Stone, the ship's tactical officer. Rick was a quiet man who specialized in planning military operations. He had been studying Zephyrian military tactics for weeks. Captain, we have identified their key targets, Rick said. He spread a large map on the table. The Zephyrians have 12 major military bases and 37 industrial centers. If we can hit these targets, we can cripple their entire civilization. Lisa pointed to several locations on the map. Their main fleet bases are here, here, and here. But most of their ships are currently spread out across the galaxy. They are preparing for their evacuation. That works in our favor, Rick said. If we strike while their ships are scattered, they cannot coordinate a defense. Jake studied the map. The Zephyrian territory covered hundreds of star systems. How many ships would we need for an operation like this? More than we have, Ricky admitted. The Starhawk is powerful, but it is only one ship. We need a fleet. Ben Clark smiled. That's where the really good news comes in, Captain. We have been studying their construction techniques. Human shipyards can build copies of Zephyrian technology using materials we already have. Copies? Jake asked. Better than copies, Ben said. We can build ships that use the best parts of their technology combined with human engineering. The result will be ships that are faster and stronger than anything the Zephyrians have. Amy Foster pulled out a stack of blueprints. We have already designed 5 different ship types. Fast attack ships for hit-and-run missions, heavy cruisers for direct assault, electronic warfare ships for hacking their systems, stealth ships for reconnaissance, and command ships for coordinating the fleet. Helen showed Jake a production schedule. Earth has 47 major shipyards. If we convert them all to build our new ships, we can have a fleet of 200 vessels ready in 5 months. 5 months, Jake repeated. That gives us 1 month to train crews and prepare for the attack. Rick Stone opened a tactical planning folder. I have been working on the operational plan. We call it Operation Payback. The attack will begin simultaneously across 12 star systems. We hit their military bases first to prevent them from organizing a response. Then we target their industrial centers to ensure they cannot rebuild. Lisa Drake looked concerned. Captain, this plan requires perfect coordination. If any part of the operation fails, the Zephyrians might escape or counterattack. That's why. We have their communication codes, Helen said. We can monitor their entire military network in real time. We will know what they are planning before they do. Ben Clark activated a holographic display that showed the planned attack routes. Each strike force will use stolen Zephyrian navigation data to reach their targets. We will travel through hyperspace routes that they think are secret. Amy Foster pointed to the timeline. The beauty of this plan is that the Zephyrians will never see it coming. They are watching Earth and waiting for the Void Swarm to arrive. They think we are desperately trying to build defenses. They have no idea we are preparing to attack them. Jake walked around the holographic display, studying the plan from every angle. It was ambitious and dangerous. If it worked, humanity would destroy the species that had planned their extinction. If it failed, Earth would be defenseless when the Void Swarm arrived. What about the Void Swarm? Jake asked. We still need to deal with them. Major Rick Stone smiled grimly. That's the final part of the plan, Captain. After we destroy the Zephyrian military, we use their own technology to redirect the Void Swarm. Redirect them where? Jake asked. To the remaining Zephyrian colonies, Rick said. Let them face the enemy they sent to destroy us. Helen Price pulled up files about the Void Swarm. The swarm follows energy signals. The Zephyrians have been using signal generators to guide them to Earth. We can capture those generators and use them to send the swarm anywhere we want. Ben Clark nodded enthusiastically. It's perfect justice, Captain. The Zephyrians planned to watch us die fighting the swarm. Instead, they will die fighting the swarm while we watch. Jake Morrison looked at each of his officers. These people had worked day and night to turn the Zephyrian betrayal into an opportunity for revenge. They had found a way to use the aliens' own arrogance against them. How many people know about this plan? Jake asked. Only the people in this room and Admiral Hayes, Lisa said. We have told everyone else that we are working on defensive improvements to the Starhawk. Good, Jake said. The Zephyrians are monitoring our communications. They need to believe we are still preparing to die for them. Amy Foster looked at the construction timeline. Captain, we need to start building the fleet soon. The longer we wait, the more likely the Zephyrians will notice what we are doing. Then we start tomorrow, Jake said. But we need to be careful. We will build the ships in secret locations. We will train the crews in small groups. We will make the Zephyrians think we are building a few defensive platforms while we actually create an invasion fleet. Rick Stone gathered up the tactical plans. I will coordinate with the other Earth militaries. We need pilots, engineers, and soldiers from every nation. This cannot be an American operation. It has to be a human operation. Helen Price closed her computer files. I will continue monitoring Zephyrian communications. If they suspect anything, we will know immediately. Ben Clark looked at the ship blueprints one more time. Captain, in 5 months, we will have the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. The Zephyrians gave us the tools to destroy them, and they do not even know it. Jake Morrison felt a cold satisfaction growing in his chest. The Zephyrians had planned the genocide of humanity as entertainment. They had bet money on how quickly humans would die. They had counted Earth as just another sacrifice to buy them time to escape. But they had made one critical error. They had assumed humans would accept death quietly. They had not considered that humans might fight back with intelligence, determination, and a desire for justice. In 5 months, the Zephyrians would learn what happened when they underestimated human anger. They would discover that their carefully planned genocide had become their own destruction. The species that had killed 17 civilizations was about to meet the 18th species they had tried to sacrifice, and this time, the sacrifice would be them. Dr. Helen Price sat in front of 3 computer screens in her small office. Her eyes were red from staying awake for 36 hours straight. Empty coffee cups covered her desk. She had been working without rest since Captain Morrison brought her the Zephyrian data cores. Helen was the best computer expert that Earth had. She could break into any system and read any code. The military had asked her to study the alien technology in secret. What she found made her sick to her stomach. FUB. Data cores contained thousands of files written in the Zephyrian language. Helen had spent weeks learning to read their symbols. Most of the files were technical manuals and system reports. But some files were different. They were communications between Zephyrian commanders. Helen read the first message 3 times before. She believed what it said. The message was from Admiral Vex Thor to the Zephyrian High Council. It was dated 2 months before the aliens came to Earth. The human species has been selected as the 18th sacrifice. Our scouts report they have basic space travel but no advanced weapons. Their population is large enough to slow the swarm for at least 40 days. This should give our evacuation fleets enough time to reach the safe zone. Helen's hands shook as she read more messages. The Zephyrians had done this before, 17 times before. They would find a young species that was just learning to travel in space. They would tell these species about the Void Swarm. They would offer to help. But the help was fake. Each time, the Zephyrians would give the young species weapons that were designed to fail. The species would fight bravely against the void swarm. They would die slowly and painfully. But their deaths would buy time for the Zephyrians to escape. Helen found a file that listed all 17 species. The Kalani had lasted 31 days. The Morteth had fought for 56 days. The Zentari had held out for only 18 days. Next to each name was a number showing how much time their sacrifice had bought for Zephyrian evacuation. But the worst discovery was still to come. Helen found financial records from the Zephyrian stock markets. The aliens were betting money on how long each species would survive. Rich Zephyrians made huge profits by guessing which species would die first. The current betting on humanity was not good. Most Zephyrians thought Earth would fall in 43 days. The odds were posted like a sports game. Helen saw that some Zephyrians had bet billions of credits that humans would die in less than 1 week. Helen printed out the most important files and ran to find Captain Morrison. She found him in the ship's conference room with his senior officers. Admiral Frank Hayes was there too. He was the commander of Earth's Space Defense Forces. "Captain Admiral, you need to see this," Helen said. She spread the printed papers on the table. Jake Morrison read the first document. His face grew dark with anger. "Are you sure about this translation?" "I checked it 5 times, Helen said. "The Zephyrians never planned to help us. We are just the latest species they plan to sacrifice to the void swarm." Admiral Hayes was a gray-haired man in his 60s. He had fought in Earth's first space wars. He read through the document slowly and carefully. 17 species, he said quietly. "They have done this 17 times. Commander Lisa Drake looked at the betting records. "They are gambling on our deaths. This is not just murder. This is entertainment for them." Lieutenant Amy Foster stared at the list of dead species. The Kalani lasted 31 days. The Morteth fought for 56 days. All those people died because they trusted the Zephyrians. Chief Engineer Ben Clark slammed his fist on the table. "And we almost fell for the same trick. If I had not found those timers, we would have died in the first battle." Communications Officer Nina Wells had been quiet during the meeting. She was young and had joined the military only 2 years ago, but she was very good at intercepting radio signals and breaking codes. "Captain, I have been listening to Zephyrian communications for the past week," Nina said. "I found something else you should know." She activated a small recording device. The room filled with sounds of the Zephyrian language. Then the translation program converted the words to English. "Kethmar to Fleet Command. The humans are progressing. As expected, they believe the Starhawk will save them. They have not discovered the kill switches yet. Recommend we begin Phase 2 of the evacuation protocol." "Acknowledged, Kethmar. How long until the humans realize the truth?" "Unknown, but it does not matter. By the time they understand, the Void Swarm will be too close. The humans will have no choice but to use our weapons. They will die as planned." The recording ended. The conference room was silent for a long moment. Admiral Hayes spoke first. "How many ships do the Zephyrians have in our solar system?" 12. "Large ships and maybe 30 smaller ones," Nina said. "But they are positioning themselves far from Earth. They want to watch the battle from a safe distance." Jake Morrison stood up and walked to the window. He could see Earth below, blue and beautiful. Somewhere down there, 7 billion people lived their normal lives. They had no idea that aliens were planning their deaths. "What about the Void Swarm?" Jake asked. "Is that real?" Helen checked her files. "Yes, the Void Swarm is real. They are machines that consume everything in their path, but they are not coming to Earth by accident. The Zephyrians have been guiding them here." "How?" Admiral Hayes asked. "The swarm follows energy signals," Helen explained. "The Zephyrians have been broadcasting special signals from Earth for months. The signals are designed to attract the swarm." Ben Clark looked at the technical specifications again. "So the Void Swarm will definitely come, but our weapons are designed to fail." and the Zephyrians will watch us die while they escape to safety. That was their plan, Jake said. He turned back to face his officers. But they made one big mistake. What mistake? Amy asked. They assumed humans would accept death quietly, Jake said. They thought we would fight bravely and die like good little soldiers. But humans do not work that way. Admiral Hayes smiled for the first time in days. What do you have in mind, Captain? The Zephyrians want to watch us die fighting. The Void Swarm, Jake said. But what if we do not fight the Void Swarm? What if we fight them instead? Lisa Drake looked at the ship's specifications. The Starhawk is sabotaged, but the sabotage works both ways. If we can reverse the kill switches, we might be able to use their own technology against them. Exactly, Jake said. They gave us access to their computer systems. They taught us how their weapons work. They showed us their ship designs. They thought they were training us to die. Instead, they were giving us everything we need to destroy them. Ben Clark grinned. I like this plan. How long do we have? Helen checked her calendar. The Void Swarm will arrive in 14 months, but the Zephyrians will start their evacuation in 6 months. If we are going to strike back, we need to do it before they escape. 6 months to prepare, Admiral Hayes said. Can we build a real fleet in that time? We can try, Jake said. But first, we need to fix the Starhawk. We need to turn their death trap into our weapon. What about the other Earth governments? Nina asked. Do we tell them what we discovered? Jake thought for a moment. Not yet. The Zephyrians are watching everything we do. If they learn that we know the truth, they might change their plans. For now, we need them to think their scheme is working. So we pretend to prepare for defense, while we actually prepare for attack, Amy said. Right, Jake said. Let the Zephyrians think we are grateful for their help. Let them think we trust them. Meanwhile, we will be getting ready to show them what happens when you try to murder humanity. Helen gathered up her documents. I will keep monitoring their communications. If their plans change, we will know immediately. Good, Admiral Hayes said. This is the most important mission in human history. We are not just fighting for Earth. We are fighting for every species the Zephyrians might try to sacrifice in the future. Jake Morrison looked around the table at his officers. These people would help him turn the galaxy's greatest betrayal into humanity's greatest victory. The Zephyrians thought they were clever. They thought they had found another weak species to sacrifice. They were about to learn how wrong they were.